Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing another story time. Today is about the time where I tried to turn in my professor for being a bad professor. So in my senior year of college, I had probably the worst professor that anyone could ever have. He was sexist, homophobic, racist, and a huge and very proud Trump supporter. He was an old military kind of guy, already well into his 60s or 70s. He was basically Red Foreman from that 70s show, but he had a platform. Anyway, here are some of the things he did in class. 1, on the first day of class, he wrote the rules on the board like most professors do, except his first rule was no buttercups. And this is clearly a homophobic slur that is related to pansy or fairy, which was used to discriminate against effeminate or gay men. So that's great. 2, he wanted us to confirm his own racial biases by making us admit that we're racist in order to make him feel better about being racist. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, people are racist, everyone has their own biases. But there was one day when he asked us whose parents ever told them not to marry someone of a different race. My mom never told me that. I'm sure that most parents don't say that anymore. But he threatened to keep us after class until someone admitted that one of their parents said this. So here we are, scared shitless. So some people, brave students, decided to speak up. I don't know if their stories were true or not, but that's the kind of atmosphere he created in his classroom. Fear. So 3, we had to read current events in front of the class, basically every class. In one class, I read a current event that I brought in. It was about a French female police officer who shot a knife man at the Louvre. And you wouldn't even be able to guess how he responded. But this is what he said, and I quote, "That'll help the women's movement." Like, what? Like, how does that even come into your mind after hearing this? 4, he taught us that men and women are hardwired differently, and that women are illogical and should just get to the damn point already. His words. And he said that men were more straightforward and are more logical than women. So, yay. 5, he was pro-Trump's travel ban. So this was during the time when Trump passed a ban of visitors coming to the U.S., and he was all for it. In fact, he said, and I quote, "People over there hate us. Why do we want people here that hate us?" So he clearly was very xenophobic. 6, we had to respond to him with "yes, sir." If we didn't say "yes, sir" to him, he would scream at us. 7, during the protests of Trump's travel ban, he was not having any of it. To the protesters, he said, "Don't these protesters have jobs? Why don't they just get a life and move on?" I don't know, maybe because we care about other human beings? 8, he blamed women for being sexually assaulted. He warned the women in the class never to go to a frat party alone, rather than telling the men in the class not to rape people. 9, he would monitor us before class, making sure we didn't put our hands in our pockets or were leaning against the wall. If we were doing any of these things, he would yell at us. 10, after class he would monitor us as we walked down the stairwell. He would open the door to the stairwell with a notepad and write people's names who weren't walking on the correct side of the stairs. He would also look out his window to see if any of us were walking on the grass, and also take names, and then, I'm assuming, take points away from us. I don't know why he would do this, probably because he's a megalomaniac. And after a month or so, I had it up to here with this guy. So I went to report him to HR. Anonymously, of course, because I didn't want my grade to suffer. I needed to pass the class, and I'm sure if he did find out it was me, he would be extremely angry. So I told the HR person what he's been doing, the same things I'm telling you now, and no action was taken in the end because I would have to reveal myself. And I just was not comfortable with that. But he did find out about my list. He didn't find out it was me, but he did hear from the HR person who chalked up this list of complaints to "some students think you're aggressive." That's not what I said at all, but that's what he took from it, and that's what the HR person took from it. So after finding this out, the next day in class, he took a student's tennis racket, waved it around, shouting, "I'm not aggressive." I'm not making this up. And then he went to say that he's untouchable and that he's not going anywhere, that his supervisor loves him, that we should just, get lives. And he also wanted one of us to come forward after all of this. After his big display of power, he wanted one of us to come up and say that we wrote the list against him. Of course, no one did that because, he's crazy. And it's just horrible because this college that I went to explicitly says that they don't stand for this kind of behavior, yet they let him teach here. And I wanted to leave him a negative review on ratemyprofessors.com because he's extremely rude and a bad professor. But I couldn't leave one in the end because he deletes all the negative reviews that students give him. So he actually has a perfect rating on ratemyprofessors.com because he just deletes all the bad ones. Again, he says that we're the ones that need to get a life. And of course, he's also in social work and has power over other people's lives, so that's great. At the end of the semester, he brought in a typed letter claiming that it was from a former student, and he read it to the class. It was, of course, a letter that praised him beyond anything, that he was the best professor that he ever had. And it was just, obviously fake because he probably typed this out and read it to the class just to show us that people actually like him. And he would do this throughout the semester, actually, bring in evidence that other students have written to him claiming that, he's the best professor they've ever had. And it just goes to show, how insecure he is. And I don't know if he's still there, but I'm sorry if he is. And before I end the story time, I just want to end with this quote from James St. Jameson from an article entitled 7 Harmful Ways Parents Often Wield Adultism Against Their Kids. So this is the quote. Fear doesn't glean respect. It creates non-consensual submissiveness at best, which has nothing to do with respect. If you ever are in a position of power and need to get respect, do not use fear. If you respect someone, they in turn will respect you. So thank you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this story time, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.